Good morning. I'm Greg Howes. This is Morning Pulse. Sorry about that little glitch there at the start, but here we are. We're ready to go. Welcome. Good to have you on with me this morning. Hope that you're well rested and ready to go for this day. We welcome all of you that are watching, wherever you might be. We want to welcome our friends from Tipton, Iowa, Tipton Calvary Foursquare Church, and Cornerstone. Good to have you on. Cornerstone, we are reading the Bible. We're finishing up the book of James. So let's stay up with our Bible reading. And then tomorrow we head into First Peter. First Peter, beginning tomorrow. So stay up with that. We had a really good time on our midweek live stream last night, the Life Table. If you happen to miss that, I would encourage you to go back and watch. I believe it was very valuable. It'll be beneficial for you. So go back and check it out, the live stream from last night. It's on several different locations, and you should be able to find it and tap into it. We want to continue to pray for America, continue to pray for the nations. Let's keep pressing in on that. In our prayers for America, we want to especially pray for the victims of the recent hurricane and things that are happening in places like Asheville, North Carolina, and some parts of Tennessee that were devastated by the aftermath of this hurricane, the flooding and so forth. And many are in very desperate straits. So we want to pray for that area and pray that people will get the support that they need and the food supply and the water supply and all of that. And the place would be able to be cleared out, to be cleaned out, things get back to normal living for those people. So we want to pray for a quick recovery in Asheville, North Carolina, and in those areas that were hit by the hurricane in Tennessee as well. And internationally, we want to continue to pray over the Middle East, praying over Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, Iran, over this whole region that's becoming a very hot spot right now, that God will bring people together, bring leaders together to negotiate the peace, to bring about peace between these nations and these radical groups. So we're believing God to somehow move in the leaders. The heart of the leader is in the hands of God, and he's turning their hearts. We're breaking the power of pride and arrogance, and we're declaring the peace of God over Jerusalem, but also we are praying for innocent people, innocent lives, that those lives would be spared in the midst of this conflict. So let's continue to pray over the Middle East area and this whole situation that's going on there. All right, let's jump into what we have for today. For Cornerstone people, this past Sunday, Sylvester Johnson was preaching at Cornerstone about being engaged. So we're asking the question, are we engaged or disengaged in what God is doing? What is our engagement level? We see this story that Jesus told in Luke chapter 19, where he gives resources to his workers, and he is leaving, going away to a far country, and he's going to come back with a kingdom, and he tells his workers to do business. Occupy till I come. Do business until I come. And so the encouragement here is to keep doing business, keep on investing, keep making a profit. That is the economic side of it. And then the warfare side of it would be keep taking territory. And once you take the territory, then hold on to that territory. And we keep doing this kind of business. We keep into this kind of occupation until the king returns. So this is a word that is encouraging our engagement, that we would be fully engaged in the will of the great king and accomplishing his will in the earth. So Sylvester Johnson was telling us that engagement is a psychological and emotional commitment brought together, is coupled with contribution, involvement, giving that leads to discretionary effort. Discretionary effort would be an act of the will, free choice. I choose to do this. I'm involved because I want to be involved, not because somebody's forcing me to. So this includes the mind, the emotions, and discretionary effort, the will, decision making. So engagement is coming out of our renewed mind, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That leads us into engagement. Engagement is coming out of emotions that are healthy, a healthy soul, stable, balanced soul, and the ability to choose, the willingness to choose, to work, to be involved, to be fully engaged. We're choosing that kind of movement. So when we talk about this discretionary effort, the ability to decide, to choose, we're talking about the level of effort a believer is capable of giving. Now, that is referring to the capacity of the person as well as their willingness to serve. What is their level of effort? What is your level of effort? What is my level of effort? What am I capable of contributing to the mission? So to be fully engaged, we are doing more than what is required, more than what is requested. We're doing more than what is expected. And we're doing it on our own. It's our own choice. We're not doing it because somebody is forcing us to or somebody is demanding that from us. We're doing it out of our own will. I choose to be engaged. I choose to do more than is required. I choose to do more than what is requested or expected of me. That's discretionary effort. I like that definition. So we're looking at 100% engagement. What does that look like to you? Can you imagine? Can you imagine 100% engagement? Let's say in your workplace, on your job, in your business. What would 100% engagement look like? When you consider politics, right now we're in this presidential election. If we had 100% engagement, what would that look like? In your church, if there was 100% engagement, what would that look like? You know, statistics usually say something about that traditionally 20% of the people are doing 80% of the work. But what would it look like if 100% of the people were doing 100% of the work? What would that look like? 100% engagement. You see, when every person is engaged, it creates contagious enthusiasm. Contagious enthusiasm. So we're seeing, as we're reading through the opening chapters of the book of Acts, that early church experience on the day of Pentecost and the days immediately following, they had engagement from a large percentage of the people, and it was creating contagious enthusiasm. And the church grew and developed. People were being added to the church, and eventually people were being multiplied into the church. 100% engagement. What would that look like? Now, the opposite of that would be non-discretionary effort. This would be when we only do what we're told to do, and we do it without a willing heart. We're only doing what people expect us to do. We're not really willing when we're doing it. So basically, we're doing it out of obligation. It's an action of obligation. And overall, we're just tolerating the process. We're not engaged with it. We're not flowing with it. We're not moving with it. We're tolerating the process, just putting up with it, just enough to get by. That is not engagement. So 1 Corinthians chapter 2, this is out of the Amplified Classic Bible, verse 14, verse 15, verse 16. Verse 14 describes the natural man, the non-spiritual man. This person does not accept or welcome or admit into his heart the gifts and teachings and revelations of the Spirit of God, for they are folly. They are meaningless nonsense to him, and he is incapable of knowing them, of progressively recognizing, understanding, and becoming better acquainted with them, because they are spiritually discerned and estimated and appreciated. Wow. Verse 15, we have the spiritual man. The spiritual man tries all things. He examines, investigates, inquires into, questions, and discerns all things, yet is himself to be put on trial and judged by no one. He can read the meaning of everything, but no one can properly discern or appraise or get an insight into him. Verse 16, for who has known or understood the mind, the counsels, and purposes of the Lord, so as to guide and instruct him and give him knowledge? But we have the mind of Christ the Messiah, and we do hold the thoughts, feelings, and purposes of his heart. So this is the movement of the spiritual person, having the mind of Christ, knowing what the Lord is doing, being able to discern that, being able to see that. And so when we look at some of the challenges to engagement, one such challenge is being in the condition of what we just read about concerning the natural man. If all we are is natural people, then there is an inability or an unwillingness to discern or accept truth. And we can't discern it, we can't accept it because we have no tolerance for the truth. And when that is our condition, false doctrine or the ideologies of the world, the philosophies of the world, have moved in and taken and occupied the space that is properly reserved for truth. And so the heart, this is a heart issue. The heart must be able to discern what is truth and be pliable to that truth and must be willing to obey that truth. Discern the truth, be pliable to the truth, and be willing to obey the truth. This is all coming from the heart. And so John 3:16 tells us that God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Believing begins in the heart, but it must move into the mind. Believing is a process. There's a process involved of getting what we believe from our heart position into the condition of our mind that begins to affect all the decisions that we are making. In John 14:6, Jesus identifies himself as the truth. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. He was saying this, answering a question that Thomas posed. Show us the way. Jesus said, I am the way. I'm the way to the Father. I'm the truth about the Father. I'm the truth about all things, and I am the life of the Father. Nobody gets to the Father unless they go through me. So A.R. Bernard, this leader out of New York City, he tells us that Jesus is the standard by which every other truth is measured. Are you hearing that? This is what we believe. This is what is in our hearts. This is what moves into our thought process. And this is governing our lives and the decisions we make and the direction we take. Jesus is the standard. He is the truth. He's the standard by which every other so-called truth is measured. So truth is revealed through the spiritual entry points of wisdom, understanding, and discernment that align with our obedience and our behavior. So truth is occupying that heart space that was created to hold such truth. So we believe in the heart. Believe in your heart, confess with your mouth. We believe in the heart, and then the process of truth moving into the mind will be activated. And the truth begins to govern every aspect, every part of our lives. Another challenge to engagement can be when spiritual sight is not in operation. And because of that, proper discernment is not functioning. We're not able to see properly. Excuse me. When our soul has been healed, a healthy soul provides the ability to see. Our mind is healed, our emotions are healed, our will has been healed. It gives us the ability to see. It takes what is foggy and it makes it clear. This is our ability to look, to behold, to see. This kind of spiritual sight is essential for our engagement. If we don't have it, then it's very difficult to be engaged. Our ability to see. The scripture tells us that many have eyes, but they cannot see. So spiritual eyesight empowers us to see beyond the natural realm. It's our ability to see through the chaos. We can see through the contradictions of life because we have spiritual sight. We walk by faith. That's spiritual sight. We walk by faith, not by natural sight. It's spiritual sight. The chaos and the contradictions of life begin to fade away so that we can see clearly the will of the Father. Another challenge to our engagement is a lack of understanding. And this probably also means a lack of wisdom because understanding emerges from wisdom, which is the principal thing. Proverbs 4, verse 7. Get wisdom, get understanding. Understanding is perceptive insight into how things are related and how they fit together, along with the ability to evaluate and make decisions. So understanding is essential for our engagement in the things of the Spirit. And then a lack of dedication, a lack of commitment to prayer can also be a challenge to our engagement. Luke chapter 5, the New English translation, starting at verse 15, Luke tells us the news about Jesus spread even more, and large crowds were gathering together to hear him and to be healed of their illnesses. Yet Jesus himself frequently withdrew to the wilderness and prayed. Did you get that statement? He frequently withdrew and prayed. One of these days, while he was teaching, there were Pharisees and teachers of the law sitting nearby. They'd come from everywhere. And the power of the Lord was with him to heal. The power of God was with him to heal. The complete Jewish Bible says in verse 16 that Jesus made a practice of withdrawing to remote places in order to pray. Notice that he made a practice of getting alone for prayer. That was his practice. So people wanted to hear what Jesus had to say. People were healed of their sicknesses. Religious leaders were drawn, they were present, and the power of the Lord was present to heal. But what is the source of all? Where's all this coming from? He made a practice of withdrawing for prayer, the practice of prayer. So, when we live as spiritual people, receiving and living in the truth, when we have the ability to see in the Spirit, when we live with the power of understanding which flows out of wisdom, and when we cultivate a consistent practice of prayer, we will be engaged, and that engagement will create contagious enthusiasm. It will create contagious enthusiasm. Living as spiritual people, receiving the truth, living in the truth, the ability to see in the Spirit, to discern, living with the power of understanding, cultivating a consistent prayer life, consistent practice of prayer. These are the steps, these are the movements toward full engagement that creates contagious enthusiasm. We will be engaged in the things of God. Think about these things, meditate on it. Let this be stirred up in your heart to be fully engaged in what God is doing. Yeah, we're believing for that. You're going to have a great day today. And I declare that everything you put your hands on will prosper and it will be successful. Have a good day. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And I'll talk to you soon.